All right, picture this. You've spent hours reading, analyzing, and just typing away. You finally hammer out that very last sentence of your first draft. You hit save, lean back, and think, done. But are you actually finished? Well, it's a super tempting thought, right? But any solid writer will tell you that the real magic, it rarely happens on that first pass. That initial draft is really just the raw clay you've dug up. Now, it's time to actually sculpt it. Today's explainer is all about diving into that sculpting phase. We're going to challenge the whole myth of the perfect first draft and show you why an analytical revision process is absolutely 100% critical.
So to master this, we're turning to the Reading and Writing Mastery Guide. Welcome to Unit 8, Article Review, Discussion, and Revision. Let's get right into it.
Now you might be wondering, what exactly is this toolkit? Well, the Unit 8 revision framework is defined as the process of refining article reviews through discussion, analyzing sample reviews, and responding to guided questions. It's definitely not just about, fixing a straight comma or catching a typo. We're talking about using a highly specific set of analytical lenses to evaluate writing. Think of it kind of like taking your essay to the optometrist. We're just going to keep swapping out those lenses until the vision of your review is absolutely crystal clear.
And honestly, this perfectly captures the dual nature of what we're aiming for here. Because revision, it's inherently a balancing act. On one hand, we need to identify the strengths in the writing. We have to recognize what already works so we don't accidentally chop out the best parts, right? But on the flip side, we have to pinpoint those specific areas for improvement. Ultimately, working through this process does so much more than just fix one single essay. It seriously enhances your overall ability to critically assess any text. It makes you a better reader, and for sure, a much sharper thinker.
Okay, let's look at our very first practical step, which this framework calls foundational extraction. Basically, before you can even think about critiquing an article, you have to know exactly what the source text is actually saying. You do this by systematically extracting its core elements. First up, determine the possible title. Simple enough. Next, find three main ideas. Not just one overarching theme, but three distinct pillars the author is using to build their argument. And finally, list the key points supporting those specific ideas. This step is huge because it ensures you're completely anchored to the actual text before you start sprinkling in your own opinions.
So once we have that foundation, we level up the analysis by splitting our focus. We need to cleanly separate the actual voice of the piece from its target reader. Look at the left side here, author's tone. That is the voice, the attitude, or the specific style the writer is using. Is it formal? Is it super urgent? Maybe it's just casual and conversational. Then, totally separate from that, on the right, we have the intended audience. This is the specific demographic the article is trying to reach. Understanding the gap or the alignment between how an author speaks and exactly who they're speaking to, that is where top-tier critical analysis really lives.
Let's ground this with a real-world example straight from the Unit 8 materials. How do we actually go about inferring an audience from a text? Well, the source gives us an article about body positivity to show us how it's done. If we read a piece on that topic, we can safely infer the audience isn't just everyone. Following the framework, we look for context clues. Those clues point to young people, and more specifically, young people who are highly active on social media. We can infer it's targeting folks influenced by modern beauty standards, and perhaps most importantly, individuals who are actively struggling with body image issues. See how laser-specific that is? That exact level of detail is what you want to strive for in your own revision process.
All right, so once we've nailed down the main ideas, the tone, and the audience, we transition into what I like to call the synthesis layer. The framework hits us with a really crucial guided question here. What can you conclude about the impact of the topic discussed in the article? The whole point is to move way past just reporting what the article says. We're stepping back to evaluate the broader, real-world consequences and the societal impact of the author's topic. Basically asking, why does this actually matter out there in the real world? Jumping back to our body positivity example, the source provides a really powerful illustration of how to answer that exact impact question. It says, "The body positivity movement has helped many people develop self-acceptance and confidence. It has also changed the way beauty is perceived in media and provided a supportive community for those affected by unrealistic beauty expectations." Honestly, this is a perfect example of evaluating impact. It doesn't just lazily say, oh, the article is about being happy with your body. No, it names the actual real-world change, developing confidence, altering media perceptions, and building community support. That's how you answer the so what.
And that brings us to the final, and honestly maybe the most vital step of the entire Unit 8 framework,
making personal connections. The guide explicitly asks you, the writer, to relate the issue discussed in the article to your own life or experiences by bringing in a personal example. This is literally the secret sauce. It's what takes a dry academic summary and elevates it into a truly insightful, compelling review. By forcing yourself to find that personal connection, you're proving to the reader that the text actually matters, that it resonates, and that you haven't just read the words, but you've fully digested their meaning.
So, think about what we've covered in this explainer. We explored the foundational extraction. We separated tone from audience. We evaluated real-world societal impact. And finally, we grounded the whole thing in personal experience. This Unit 8 toolkit, it really isn't just about fixing a messy draft. It's about fundamentally changing how you engage with information from start to finish. So as you look at your own writing right now, or even the very next article you sit down to read, I want to leave you with one big thought. What personal connection will drive your next great review? Think about it. Apply these lenses and just watch your writing completely transform.